Hey guys, Arlette from Chasing Joy. So I wanted to do another video, another update to let you guys know, I guess, what is happening with regards to me having a miscarriage. So if you saw the last video, you saw that my 6th IUI for cycle 10 was successful. I did get pregnant. However, my HCG levels didn't rise appropriately, and ultimately the doctor said it was a non-viable pregnancy, and she said that I was going to miscarry. So one of the reasons that I wanted to do this video is because I think it's kind of rare, at least from what I'm seeing online, for a woman to find out she's going to miscarry before the miscarriage actually takes place. So for the last couple weeks, I've known that I was likely going to miscarry, and well, not a couple weeks, like a week and a half, I guess, and nothing has happened. And so it's been very stressful and scary because you don't know what's going to happen. I had a friend who had one, and she was saying how she was in so much pain, she couldn't get up off the floor, and it's just kind of scary to wonder, like, is that going to happen to me? You know, when is it going to happen? It's going to happen when I'm at work. I ultimately decided to tell my boss because I was afraid if something happened at work and I needed to leave, you know, I didn't want the added stress of having to explain later. I also was feeling stressed about the fact that my doctor had me coming in every other day for blood work, or either blood work and ultrasound, just trying to figure out what's going on. The other hard part during this process between finding out the pregnancy was non-viable and up till now was there's still doubts about if it's a pregnancy that was in the uterus or if it's some form of ectopic. Ultrasound didn't show anything abnormal. However, you know, the embryo, it would be so small right now that it would be hard to see. And the ultrasound, they did see what they think is a gestational sac, but it's only 3 millimeters, and it was actually slightly smaller on the second ultrasound. But my betas have not been consistent. They did start dropping, but the dropping has been so small, it's almost insignificant. When my beta, the highest beta that I, on record for me was 273. And that was like 20 something days post ovulation. So it should have been way higher by then. And it dropped to 247. And in the 6 days between that day and yesterday, it only came down to 239. So from 247 to 239 in almost a week is almost like as if the beta stayed the same, which made my doctor nervous about the ectopic, which I think I mentioned before. So because the numbers didn't change, initially she said the next step would be for me to take the methotrexate, which is a drug they get to cancer patients, but it would stop all embryo development wherever the embryo was in your body, even if it was not in the uterus. But if you do that, you can't try again for like 3 months, and it's a harsh chemical. So my doctor came up with another plan, which we went with, and today I had a procedure called a Karman Cannula. So basically what they did was they went in, it was like an outpatient procedure, not even at the hospital. They were able to do it at the doctor's office. I didn't have to be put to sleep or anything. They went in and they basically took out all of the, or as much as they could of the lining in my uterus and any embryonic tissue or placental tissue that might have been there. And the reason they did that was if they remove that, then it should make my HCG levels decrease dramatically. If the numbers don't decrease significantly, then that means that there is still a pregnancy in my body, but it's not in the uterus, which would mean it's in the tube or somewhere else unhealthy for me. And I would definitely have to take the methotrexate. But she wanted to try this ahead of time. So I had that procedure today. I guess to tell you guys a little bit about it, I tried to I didn't really find much when I Googled other than the same information they gave me on the paper that you have to sign, like I guess I don't want to call it a disclaimer, but I can't think of the right word, the consent. So basically it was similar to an IUI where, you're in the stirrups. They use, forgive me guys, I'm like losing all of my words right now. A speculum. They use a speculum to find your cervix, and then they put a catheter through the cervix. But instead of inserting, the sperm like they would in an IUI, instead the catheter is a little bigger, and then they use something to take tissue out of the lining, and they kind of pull it out, and then that tissue gets biopsied. It was a little painful. It was not as painful for me as the HSG test that I had way back to, it was one of the initial fertility tests to see if your uterus and tubes have any blockages, which mine didn't. But with that, it was like, it started with a little cramping during the procedure, and it just got worse and worse and more intense. And I actually thought I was going to start screaming, but they finished. For this Karman Cannula, it was not that bad. It was uncomfortable. Some parts of it did hurt, but it wasn't like a continuous pain. It got worse. It was like, okay, cramping here for a few minutes. And the doctor was very good, when he said, okay, this is going to hurt 10 seconds, and it did hurt for the 10 seconds. It was a little nerve-wracking hearing noises. They used something that sounded like spray, but my mom was with me, which I'm glad she could be there, and they allowed her to be in a room with me. It was like a vacuum, which I guess helps them after they, I don't want to sound too graphic, but I think after they scrape the lining off the uterus, the vacuum thing sucks it out. So, it was short. It was less than 15 minutes. In my mind, I just wanted it to be over, so I kept thinking, when is it over? But it wasn't too bad. Emotionally, it was really tough. Beforehand, the doctor went over everything, and he just kept emphasizing over and over how my pregnancy is not viable. My baby would not lead to delivery. That just made me really sad. So then I start crying, and everything there. I was talking to the doctor. But I think they're saying that because I think the procedure is very similar to an abortion from, just the way it's seen. And I guess they really want you to understand that it's not an abortion, that, your baby would not make it. And they're doing this to figure out what's going on, and so that they can make sure that I'm not in any danger for like a tubal. So it was probably harder emotionally than physically, though it wasn't pleasant. There was some prep before the procedure. I had to take 2 antibiotics, and then I had to take something called misoprostol, and I had to insert that vaginally, and that's supposed to, help soften the cervix so they can get the catheter through, because when you're pregnant, your cervix isn't supposed to be soft. It's supposed to be all closed up tight, keeping a baby in. So I had to do that, one vaginally last night, and then the other I had to put in like the side of my mouth and let it dissolve, which I didn't do it right, because initially I put it like here by my lips, so it was like take forever. And my mom was like, well, didn't they say put it in your cheeks? I should have put it like here. So by the time I moved from there to there, it was like a mess. But I guess it worked because I was able to do the procedure. Then they told me to take ibuprofen, like 600 to 800 milligrams before. And I think that helped because I didn't have too much cramping after. I mostly after just felt very, very tired. And the nurse said that could be from this medication, misoprostol, but also from the stress. I think it was mostly the stress. Just very draining. So where we stand right now, I guess technically that was like me having the miscarriage, but we didn't wait for my body to do it naturally. Today, I guess this morning I was 6 weeks exactly pregnant, and now I'm not pregnant anymore, so that's kind of crazy. But the next steps, I have to go back in 2 days and do blood work again, so they'll see if the HCG dropped. So hopefully it dropped. If it did not, then I have to take the methotrexate. And I'll probably do a video, I guess, telling you guys what that's like. If it did drop appropriately, then I'll probably just let you guys know at the end of this video so you know what's going on. I'm praying that it dropped on its own, and that, you know, do this blood work, and then in a few weeks, you know, I'll be ready to start trying again for my little bundle of joy. When I did ask the doctor, would I have more bleeding? Would this be the... He said he didn't know. Like, that's the hardest part of all this. Like, everybody's body is different. Like, I kept asking, well, when am I going to miscarry? When can I expect? They said, well, we don't know. Everyone is different. Everyone's betas drop at different rates. People have the miscarriage at different rates. People, after the Karman Cannula Procedure, will have different, you know, bleeding. So, you know, the wonders of the beautiful female body, we're all different, even though we have the same stuff. So right now, it's basically like a very light period. I think he might have gotten most of the lining out. So he said I might not have a whole lot more bleeding. And then I might just in a few weeks have a normal cycle. I'm curious as how my cycle is going to be. Am I going to still be like pretty rigid 28 days with my, you know, IUIs mostly being on the weekend because I've been so regular? So I don't know. But I'm sorry if this video was graphic or depressing. I just thought it was important for me to share my experience, because for the last 2 weeks I have been looking online to see if other people could talk about what happens between the time when you know your baby is not going to make it, or you know you're having a miscarriage or going to have a miscarriage, and the time when you actually do have a miscarriage or some kind of procedure. And I wasn't finding anything. So, excuse me. Hopefully if anyone is going through that, they got something out of this video, or if their doctor is telling them they want to do this Karman Cannula Procedure, that they got some information. So that's all for now, guys, and please keep watching, keep praying for me. This is a very emotionally hard thing to go through, and I'm very glad I have my mom to help me. And I'm not going through this by myself like a lot of other people trying to become a single mother by choice might be, because they don't have a partner or a spouse. I'm glad I do have my mom to help. So anyway, that's it for now. Please keep praying for me, and send me baby dust, and I will be back with another update for you guys soon. Thanks for watching.